last year and a half, myself along with my family have decluttered about 85% of our family's possessions. I have definitely learned some things in that amount of time, and I think some of these things that I have learned can be really, really helpful to you, encouraging to you, and just help you see some of the benefits that can come from decluttering, especially a large volume of stuff. Getting that amount of stuff out of your house, even if you aren't looking to declutter 85%, even if you just decluttered half, what an incredible difference it can make. Here are some of the benefits. Hopefully today's video is encouraging. If it is, please hit subscribe and let's hop right in. I spent about a decade extremely stressed out in my home, but really feeling paralyzed by the thought of decluttering, especially such a large volume. I had a lot of guilt, and then I had what I call decluttering paralysis, where I felt so much anxiety around decluttering projects that were so large that it actually kept me from just moving and making any progress whatsoever. What I learned though is that procrastinating only makes the piles bigger. It really, really does. So it's best to just get started, because the more birthdays you have, the more Christmases you have, the more things you buy, the more gifts you're given. Without decluttering, the piles just get larger and larger and larger. So that's one thing that I learned, is that procrastinating only makes bigger piles. So you might as well get started on it today. The next thing I learned is that the smallest amount of time spent decluttering makes a real difference. That's one of the things, again, that stopped me from decluttering earlier on in my life, even though my stuff was causing me so much stress, is that I didn't feel like it was gonna make a big difference if I just tackled a little project here or a little project there. I just didn't really feel like it would add up to much. But I learned after getting started with ruthless decluttering that even 5, 10, 15 minutes can make an insane difference on the impact of your home and the way your home feels, especially if you keep at this, like just 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and you just keep going, 10 minutes there, 10 minutes here, and it can really, really, and it does really add up. So small amounts of time, little bursts of decluttering actually does propel you forward, and it does make a difference in your home. It is definitely worth it. I also learned that ruthless decluttering was the way to go. This worked for me. I was really, really interested in getting a large volume out of my house in a short amount of time as was reasonable. I did not spend time trying to fix things up, list things on Facebook Marketplace, make different piles for different neighbors and friends. I just felt like that was gonna slow me down, and I found that for me, ruthless decluttering was the way to go. I'm somebody who's very triggered by clutter. Again, I felt very anxious in my home, and doing these decluttering projects were a little bit anxiety inducing for me. This was not fun, although it was completely worth it and got me to the end goal of not having stress and anxiety in my home like at all anymore. So it was completely worth going through and completely worth the effort. So I wanted to spend as little amount of time in my stuff and handling my stuff as possible. So I just donated ruthlessly, and for me this worked. I was able again to make a large amount of progress in a short amount of time. This next one might surprise some of you, but I didn't miss the stuff. I learned that the things that I worried that I would miss, I did not end up missing at all. I have had a couple things where I just, dang it, why did I get rid of that? And then I forget about it later. So even if in that moment I have a little like, dang, I still in the long run can't even remember what those things were. So looking at it as a grand picture, you don't miss the stuff. It's just stuff. Your time, the time that you're getting back by decluttering, is worth so much more than the actual item. that leads me beautifully into the next lesson that I learned, and that is that less stuff equals more time. You will not believe how much time you get back after decluttering your home. This is less time you spend cleaning, less time you spend shopping, because trust me, after you start decluttering, the last thing you want to do is fill your home up again. So you spend so much less time shopping, less time maintaining your stuff, shuffling your stuff from room to room. You get all of this time back. And in the end, I was really just thinking of this in terms of cleaning. I don't want to spend 2 to 2.5 hours a day cleaning. I just don't want to. I really don't love cleaning that much. And so when I said about this, I was just thinking, I don't want to spend so much time cleaning. I know my stuff is causing me stress, but what I learned and what surprised me is all the additional time I got on top of that. Not only did I spend less time cleaning, I had more time for my kids. I had more time to visit with my friends. I had more time to practice the piano, to read books, to spend time outside in nature. All of these things I hadn't really considered. So it is absolutely mind-blowing at the time that you get back after decluttering, especially a large volume of stuff. All right, this is not a one and done, and this is the next lesson that I learned. You don't just declutter your house 85%, 75%, 50%, whatever it is, and you are done. You are constantly having to re-declutter, reassess, and just make passes through your house again and again. This is something that I realize I will be doing for the rest of my life, but it's okay. I'm actually not overwhelmed by it like I was looking at the huge pile of stuff in my house that I really wanted to get out of there before I decluttered 85%. The thought of re-decluttering or doing these small maintenance projects doesn't overwhelm me at all. In fact, I kind of look forward to it. So just keep that in mind. It's not a one and done. You don't kind of arrive and then just sit there without any effort at all. You do have to maintain, but it's not nearly as overwhelming to maintain as it is to do the initial purge. I am going to be dedicating an entire video to why I don't organize my house. I don't organize it as a whole. However, I do have a couple little areas of my home that I have technically and officially organized, but just a couple. These projects were so easy. After I purged such a large volume from my house, organizing, getting things like laid out nicely, orderly, however you want to say it, was a breeze. And that's what happens after you declutter. It is so much easier to organize, or kind of like structurally, I'm trying to think of another word besides organize, but just getting things laid out in an orderly fashion in my home was so easy. And I never thought I could organize anything. It turns out I can, and you can too, even if you're somebody who's not naturally inclined. All you have to do is declutter a large amount of your stuff, or declutter the things in your life that are just not serving you anymore. And once you do that, keeping things really nice and structured and orderly in your home becomes so easy. I made several passes through my house when I was doing my initial purge, my initial cleanse of my space. And something that I realized, especially towards the very end of the year, that I really did focus on decluttering my house, is that you need a lot less than you think. That is the thing that really was fun to learn. The first pass through my house, I felt like, and I did, declutter a large volume of stuff. But then when I went back through again, I was amazed at how much I had missed decluttering. Like, I don't need this stuff. It seemed so strange to me that I had actually held on to it because I didn't need it either. And then I made a third pass and I was like, what? How is this item still in my home? It is amazing how much less you need than you might actually think. To have a really, really well running home, things are running smoothly, you're still enjoying your space, you still have like this aesthetically pleasing space where everybody feels cozy. I don't know, it amazed me how much I was living with that was beyond what I really needed. I thought I needed all this stuff, but I didn't. I didn't need it and I didn't want it. And that's something that I learned after I peeled and peeled and peeled away the layers. It's just, how do I still have this? Are you kidding me? How have I not gotten rid of it? You just need so much less than you think, and ultimately, you probably want less than you think too. Your decluttering muscles build so fast. This is something that I learned pretty early on and pretty quickly in my decluttering process, is that your stamina for decluttering, your ability to make really, really quick and useful decisions when it comes to decluttering, it happens so quickly. This is one of the reasons, actually really thinking about it, being honest with myself, this is another reason that I feel like I delayed the decluttering process for so long, is I felt like it just was gonna take me forever to declutter my space. And it turns out, although a year is a really long amount of time, it took me 15 years to get this stuff into my house and only 1 year to get it out. That's pretty incredible when you compare the time frames. So what I really thought is that it was just gonna be so long. It was gonna take forever to accomplish these projects, and really your muscles build up so quick. You're able to make, and I don't mean like physically, although lifting the boxes definitely helps. This happens so quickly, and it's a really cool and empowering feeling as you can see that you are able to make these decisions and you're getting faster and better, and you just propel yourself forward in this process, and it is absolutely amazing. I have talked so many times on my channel about the 1 in, 1 out rule. I have used this rule. I think it's really, really good, but the longer that I have lived clutter-free and a more simplified life, the more unrealistic I feel like this is. It actually makes better sense for me. Instead of counting out the number of items that might come into my home in a given week, maybe somebody has a birthday, maybe we have I don't know, a grandparent come and they bring gifts for the kids. Maybe I acquire a couple new sweaters for the new fall season. I mean, whatever it is, instead of like counting things out and then going and finding that many things in your home, I feel like a monthly declutter is more realistic. Now, in theory, the 1 in, 1 out rule is amazing, and I believe it works for some people. And I did this for a really long time, the 1 in, 1 out, but I couldn't maintain it very well. So if this works for you, keep with it. I think it's a really great concept. Some people even do 1 in, 2 out, which is even more amazing. But with a family of 5, it just was a little bit too overwhelming and too much to think about, like counting out all the little items that came in. It just got to be too much and it was unrealistic. So I want something really realistic that I can maintain over the long haul. And for these monthly decluttering projects, I aim to get rid of at least 1 garbage sack full of stuff. And if I can go beyond that, awesome. And the ultimate goal is to bring in so much less that I actually only end up decluttering once every 4 months, once every 6 months, and I am getting to that point. I used to have to declutter every week just to kind of maintain. So I'm making progress, and I do have like grander goals for this. Declutter less, because I'm bringing so much less in. But the 1 in, 1 out rule, great in theory, but in the long run didn't really work for me. Have you decluttered a large amount of stuff, or is it something that you are still working on doing? Or are you not looking to declutter a bunch, but maybe just a few things? Let me know in the comments kind of where you are in this process. I love chatting with you. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you soon. Bye.